Hello everybody, now we are up to chapter 8 after the nightmare, unit 3 to past in the present សួស្តីទាំងអស់គ្នាឥឡូវយើងដល់ជំពូកទី8 after the nightmare មេរៀនទី3 to past in the present ជាងមុនចាប់ដើមសូមជួយចុច subscribe និងរូបកណ្ដឹងឲ្យផង Okay, let's start. In unit 3 we are going to talk about 3 sections. Section A, vocabulary, picture, reading, ask and answer the question. Section B, look at the tables and match them. Section C, discussion. So here what we are going to talk in the unit. Okay, let's start together. Vocabulary. Vocabulary. Confused as adjective. Unable to think clearly or to understand something. In Khmer, ដែលយល់ច្រឡំ or ដែលច្រឡំ Example: My grandfather gets quite confused sometimes and doesn't even know what day it is. Genocide, noun. The murder of a whole group of people, especially a whole nation, race or religious group. អំពើបលាយពូជសាសន៍ Example: Why do people describe the Khmer Rock years as a time of genocide? Who knows? Scream. The loud high sound you make one very frightened, excited or angry. សម្រែក Example: No one heard their screams. Stick, noun. A thin piece of wood. សម្បងឈើច្រត់ Example: Police said that the child had been beaten with a stick. Somewhat, adverb. Slightly, យ៉ាងដូចនេះ បន្តិចបន្តួច Example: We were somewhat tired after our long walk. Unusual, adjective. Different from others, of the same type in a way that is surprising, interesting or attractive. មិនធម្មតាប្លែក Example: I was actually on time, very unusual for me. Describe, verb. To say or write what someone or something is like. រៀបរាប់ or ពិពណ៌នា Example: He described the painting in detail. Select, verb. To choose a small number of things or to choose by making careful decisions. ជ្រើសរើស Example: A mouse is a device which makes it easier to select different options from computer menus. Image, verb. To make or have a picture in your mind. ធ្វើឲ្យមានស្រមោល រូប Example: But I once always image in my mind. Beat, verb. To hit repeatedly. វាយឲ្យសំពើ Example: They saw him hitting his dog with a stick. So, do you have any problem with vocabulary? Everyone, you can ask again. Right? If no, let's move on. Picture. Look at the picture, everyone. What can you see here? What can you see in the picture? Here? What? Two women, right? And this one. What is it? What are they doing? Here you can see two, but what are they doing? Who can? Please share your answer. What are they discussing about, do you think? Have you got any idea? Depend on this picture, everyone. Don't worry, everything that you share is good. Share to your friend with a good point that you can understand. Depend on the picture, right? Be talking or discussing about something that happened in the past and what will they do in the future. Okay, let's move on. Read the story. Okay, let's read this story together and we have to answer some question from this one. Okay, read and be careful with your reading. Let's start, please. Why do people describe the Khmer Rouge years as the time of genocide? Radhana asked Dr. Agenda. Because they killed so many people, Dr. Agenda replied. Even now, more than 20 years later, I still have nightmares about that hell. I hear the scream of people who were taken away and beaten with sticks before they died, because that's what was happening all the time. It wasn't unusual. Sometimes I'm the person selected and waiting to be killed. Various people told Radhana about their experiences during the Khmer Rouge regime, but it wasn't easy for her to imagine what it really must have been like. I want to know about the Khmer Rouge regime, but if I were you, I wouldn't want to talk about it, Radhana told Dr. Chanda. I know what you mean, said Dr. Chanda. But unless we understand the past, we won't understand the present. Radhana felt somewhat confused. Does that mean that knowing about the past is the same as understanding it? Asked Radhana. Sometimes I feel the more I know about the Khmer Rouge regime, the more I don't understand it. I mean, why were all those people killed? Well, reasons have been given, but I know what you mean, Dr. Chanda answered. I feel the same way sometimes. Perhaps some things really are impossible to understand. But generally I do think that the more you know, the more you can understand. And I believe that's important because when we are trying to understand all those things that have happened, however terrible, we are probably also trying to understand ourselves. Okay? Do you understand? You can read again to make you understand, and it's easy for you to answer the question, right? Read again to make you understand. Don't forget. Move on to question. Ask and answer the question. We have 5 questions from 1 to 5. Number 1. What did Dr. Chanda say was a hell? Why? 2. What did Dr. Chanda say wasn't unusual? 3. Was Dr. Chanda selected? Do you think? Why? 4. What made Radhana feel somewhat confused? 5. Why did Dr. Chanda think that it was important to try to understand things, however terrible they were? Okay, let's answer together. Number 1. Who can answer question 1? What did Dr. Chanda say was a hell? Why? Dr. Chanda said that Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge years was a hell because many suffered and were killed during that time. 2. What did Dr. Chanda say wasn't unusual? Who can answer? Dr. Chanda said that it wasn't unusual to hear the screams of people who were taken and beaten with sticks before they died, because that's what was happening all the time. 3. Was Dr. Chanda selected? Do you think why? No, I don't think Dr. Chanda was selected because she didn't die. Or if she was selected, she must have escaped. 4. What made Ratna feel somewhat confused? Ratna felt somewhat confused because she didn't think that know if knowing about the past was the same as understanding it. 5. Why did Dr. Chanda think that it was important to try to understand things, however terrible they were? You got answer now. Dr. Chanda thought that it was impossible to try to understand things, however terrible they were, because when we are trying to understand those things that have happened, we are probably also trying to understand ourselves. You understand? Okay, you can ask and answer question with your partner at home, and don't forget to copy or write down in your notebook. Move on. Section B. Everyone look at the table A and B here. A. 1. Dr. Chanda said that if it were not unusual for her to have nightmares. 2. Ratna said that if she were Dr. Chanda. 3. Ratna said that if she were interested in knowing about life during the 1980s. 4. Ratna said that if it were possible. 5. Dr. Chanda said that if she were Ratna, B. She wouldn't A. Ask people lived during those years about it. B. Enjoy sleeping. C. Like to visit tours like museum with Dr. Chanda. D. Try to understand past events as much as possible. E. Want to talk about her memories of the Khmer Rock regime. Mark them to make 5 correct statements. Okay, let's mark together. Number 1. Dr. Chanda said that if I were not unusual for to have nightmares, she wouldn't enjoy sleeping. 2. Ratna said that if she were Dr. Chanda, she wouldn't want to talk about her memories of the Khmer Rock regime. 3. Ratna said that if she were interested in knowing about life during the 1980s, she would ask people who lived during those years about it. 4. Ratna said that if it were possible, she would like to visit the tours like museum with Dr. Chanda. 5. Dr. Chanda said that if she were Ratna, she would try to understand the past events as much as possible. Do you get it? Okay, let's move on. Section C, discussion. Ask and answer the question. Then write your answers in your notebook. Dr. Chanda believes that 1. Unless we understand the past, we won't understand the present. Do you agree with her? Why? 2. When we are trying to understand things that have happened in the past, we are also trying to understand ourselves. What do you think she means by this? Do you agree with her? Why? Okay, let's answer together, please. Number 1. Dr. Chanda believes that unless we understand the past, we won't understand the present. Do you agree with her? Why? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Because ... Everybody, this one, the answer can be different, depend your idea. Okay? The present grown out the past. The past and the present are different, etc. 2. When we are trying to understand things that have happened in the past, we are also trying to understand ourselves. What do you think she means by this? Do you agree with her? Why? I think Dr. Chanda means that when we are trying to understand the past, we are thinking about people. We are trying to understand what people have done and why they have done those things. But we can only understand why other people do things if we know why we ourselves do things. So the more we understand about the people in the past and present, the more we understand ourselves. And the more we understand ourselves, the more we understand other people. Do you understand? Okay. Yeah, please write down in your notebook. The end. If you have any question, you can drop in comment box. Everybody, I try to answer. Goodbye.